struggle to remember what you read? I talk about the most effective study habits and methods that the brightest minds use to remember almost everything you'll read. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Ananya. If you're new here, please subscribe. Now, how do you remember thousands of words that you read each day? How do you turn all of it into something that actually sticks with you? I've received so many comments that you read all the chapters of the exam but still don't end up remembering anything during the exam. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the top study habits that will help you to remember absolutely everything. So if you're excited, give this video a big thumbs up and let's get started. So the first and the most effective study method is spaced repetition. It involves reviewing the study material over increasingly long intervals from hours to days to weeks until you remember the entire material inside out. And this method basically helps your brain to commit the important information to memory by recalling it at the key points just before you're going to forget all of it. You might not know this, but our brains are actually constantly forgetting the information we read. I know that sounds kind of weird when you think about it, but that's the reason. We review the information several times before it goes into our long-term memory, and of course that's why revision is important. Otherwise you'll end up forgetting all the important information. And this method also points out the importance of how when you practice or read something over time, you tend to remember that better instead of just cramming all the information at once. So next time when you have to read a very long chapter, make sure that you divide it into parts and read the chapter as a whole over a few days, and then revise the same chapter after a few days, weeks, unless you completely remember it. Now the second method is another very essential method, and that is active recalling. This technique requires you to consciously and actively recall the information that you just read instead of passively reading it. Now what exactly do I mean by active and passive? When you're actively reading, that means you're actually using your brain to remember the information, like asking yourself questions, practicing quizzes, etc. While passive reading is something like you're lost in your thoughts but you're just going through the text for the sake of it, or you're just mindlessly highlighting the information without actually understanding the text and what's going on in the chapter. And of course there are a lot of active recalling revision methods that you can incorporate into your studying, and a few of them are making flashcards, using practice tests and sample papers, drawing mind maps, and taking notes while actually reading the text. Now talking about active recalling revision methods and using practice tests and sample papers, so many of you guys actually keep asking me about which sample papers you can use for the preparation of your upcoming exams, and I want to let you know about Oswal Gurukul's 36 sample question paper book, which is available for all the streams. This one right here is for the commerce stream and includes all the subjects, that is accounts, economics, business studies, maths, physical education and English. So basically it's an all-in-one book with all the subjects, and you can very conveniently practice for the board exams. This book includes subject-wise question papers strictly according to the term 2 syllabus released by CBSE, and of course it covers the entire syllabus for the term 2 exam. The questions are based on the sample paper that was released by CBSE in January 2022 and includes an exhaustive range of subjective questions such as NCERT exemplar, very short and long answers as well. It also has the fully solved sample question paper released by CBSE, and I'm sure you know how important that is to practice. This book right here gives you the best practice for all the subjects, and it also has detailed expert solutions for every answer for your better understanding. So yeah, what are you guys waiting for? If you still haven't got your hands on sample papers, definitely check these out. The link is in the description, and let me know what you think about this book. Apart from this, you can also subscribe to Oswal's Telegram channel for free mock tests, study material and a lot more. The link for class 9 and 10 and 11th and 12th is available in the description, so definitely join today and get exam ready. Now the third method is something I recently discovered by the YouTube channel Faye Films, and that is to write down everything you remember after reading the chapter. Now in this method, the first step is to read the entire chapter thoroughly. I know that sounds obvious, but it is important to read the entire information with a purpose in your mind. You're not just skimming over the material, but actually reading and understanding what exactly the text is trying to convey. Now the next and the most important step is to write down everything that you just read and understood from the chapter. Give yourself a few minutes to reflect reflect on what you just read, and then jot down everything that stood out to you and is important to remember as well. And of course, the more you write down, it's much easier for you to remember it. And don't worry about the formatting, neatness, if they make sense or not. Just write down everything that is in your head after reading the chapter and try to sort of form connections between all the information you read, basically like a mind map. And once your notes are organized in an outline or mind map, go back through your textbook and add if there's anything missing or if you've written something wrong, and try to understand all the concepts again. And this allows you to think more loudly and clearly, in the sense that when you jot down your points, you realize what are you understanding. You can always read back through the text and understand the logic. Now, the next study tip is to study in small sections. Now, when you're trying to read a lot of information, it's easy to get overwhelmed, but you actually retain very little of what you were reading because you just lose focus. And as it is rightly said, the best way to tackle a mountain is one step at a time. And the same goes for studying. In one big sitting, you should never end up reading more than one chapter, or especially if it's a very vast and intense chapter, probably not even complete the entire one in like one sitting. You can take short little breaks and give your brain some time to actually understand and digest all the information that you just read. Now, the next tip is when you can't read aloud. What do you understand by that? Now, if you're trying to read the same information multiple times, you're going over it again and again, but still forgetting it, or you're falling asleep or zoning out while studying, try reading aloud. And this brain hack is scientifically proven to boost your memory. Generally speaking, when you're reading some information, your brain doesn't have to work that hard reading silently. But when we actually read aloud, our brain is forced to put in more effort because reading out loud engages more parts of the brain. And of course, the more parts of your brain you use while studying some new information, you're more likely to retain it for the long term. Now, the next method is to repeat back in your own words, and this one is something I used to do a lot. Now, one of the best ways to understand something and also recall it more easily is by explaining that concept in your own words. And it really doesn't matter whether you speak it out loud or write it, but it's important after you finish reading a major section of your chapter, you stop and summarize what you just read in your own words, and you've internalized the concept so much so that you don't have to return to your textbook to go through the key points again. And last but not the least, again, this is something I definitely did while studying, and the name of this technique is inspired by Faye films, and that is the ask and answer technique. Now, the key point to remember everything that you're reading is that you're actively engaging with the text and not just passively or mindlessly going through it. And this can be easily done by asking yourself questions related to what you just read and of course answering them. You'll not only understand the material by giving the answers but also remember it. So the next time you're studying, make sure that you make questions for every paragraph that you read. Now, how exactly do you make the questions? Imagine that you were being quizzed or giving a test on this particular topic. So what kind of questions do you think your teacher would ask you? And simply make a list of those questions as and when you read the section. So this will actually help you later as well during revision, because instead of going through the entire text again, you can simply answer the questions that you had listed down. And if you know the answers to all of them, that means you understood the chapter. And if not, you can of course refer back to the text to understand it better. And yeah, with that, we've made it to the end of the video. I'm sure these top study habits and tips will help you to retain information in the long run and not just forget it after studying. This has worked for most people out there, and I am sure it will for you as well. So keep putting in the effort. You've got this. And if you've made it till here, comment these emojis. And thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and want to see more videos like this, then don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel. Share this video with your friends. Follow me on Instagram. And until next time, bye.